like details about one scene that didn't, like, you know, like,
yeah.
I would give some type of details that didn't make sense. But it's the pilot I saw really wrote me in. I didn't watch it after that because I didn't know what it was on because I probably should pay attention. I don't.
The best part of the show, though, is one of the things I like is that they tell you how long the commercial break's going to be. Yeah. So you don't mind sitting through it. It's like, we'll be back, Fringe will be back in 60 seconds. And you're like, oh, that's not that long.
Yeah, that actually is very cool.
Yeah, so you're like, oh, so I can do 60 seconds. But if they don't tell you, you're like, this stinks. I'm just going to hit pause and come back an hour later.
Well, also, our show, there are fewer commercials on our show than normally there are on other network shows. Because I know me, when I watch a show, and I don't watch much television, but when I do it, I'm really hooked into something.
Yeah.
And about a year ago, I don't know why, but I started counting the minutes. And I started counting the commercials. And after, sometimes it's like 11 commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is annoying as hell and takes you, like a good writer cannot sit there and go, okay, and here's where it just will cut off and I have to wait like for 11 commercials and then start back up again. Like it seems like the writers would be angry. Like there are portions of, when you see a movie on television, you know that whoever wrote that movie, put the movie together, isn't going, this is going to be even better when you just cut off at the climax of a certain part and then come back to it after you sit through a few mopping commercials.
You want me to explain that, Anthony?
No, I did a fine job, I think. I think it's, it interferes with the actual drama or, the continuity of something.
Especially when you're coming from a place like you did HBO for 6 years.
Yeah.
And 5 seasons. With our hour-long episodes and the content is complete freedom. Is it weird to come back to regular television, even though the show is it's a massive hit? I don't think on the Fringe you would need the type of content freedom you had on The Wire because you're not dealing with drugs or the language or, murders or any of that stuff. But is it weird coming back to regular television after having that kind of freedom on HBO?
Well, it's a little odd. I mean, say coming back, to be perfectly honest, it's my only experience on network television really has been as intermittent guest stars. So I've never had to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes it's a little frustrating because we just have to. Well, first of all, our show is longer than most network shows because of fewer commercial breaks. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to get the amount of content in, and at the same time, the network kind of has more of a hand in the creative process. So it's a little more. There's more cooks. There's more cooks.
Yeah, that's always a treat. When someone in a suit comes by.
However, I will say this: the show is still, even with all those cooks, the show is still great. Yeah. And I think ultimately, because it's JJ and he knows, they know he's the man.
We have a lot of Fringe fans calling the show, and they're frustrated by Bobby's.
They should be. I apologize to every single one of them.
Cindy in Jersey is going to do a better job, hopefully. Cindy in Jersey.
Hey, I think that Fringe is kind of a cross between CSI and X-Files. I think that probably best explains it. So, that's it. Punching out.
Wow. She did it in 3 seconds.
Well, pat yourself on the back. I hope when you do that, you hit a tree. Listen.
Wow, man. Now I'm mad that I had memorized my explanation. They give me notes and everything.
Are you now, you work for the FBI, not the Collective, right? What is it called?
The Collective?
What is it called?
Jesus,
what is it called? You know what is it called?
Oh, you mean the Pattern?
The Pattern. You work for that the Pattern?
Well, no. The Pattern.
Hey, shut up! You don't even know about the show, stupid.
Yeah, but isn't it you? The Pattern
I just get nervous. I'm staring right at him.
But the job of being on the radio is to bring as many people as possible into the conversation.
And when I get a paycheck from a radio company, I'll do that. Okay?
Let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, the Pattern.
The Pattern, yes.
Man, I don't want to be
I can't believe I frustrated him.
The Pattern is not an organization. The Pattern is a description of all these series of weird events all over the world over the past several years, and how they seem to be all connected. I actually work for the Department of Homeland Security.
Right. And she worked for the FBI.
Yes.
And then there's the company, the big company.
Massive Dynamics.
Massive Dynamics. You don't work for them.
No.
Oh, you can't. Okay, there you go.
No.
Whoop.
No. I do not work for. I do not work for Massive
Okay,
Dynamics.
cool.
That was terrible.
Every episode.
$20 says Lance knocks out Bobby's teeth.
We think Fringe is a good show. We're not really sure yet.
No,
and we're 20 minutes into this, Bobby.
I really am.
But no. In Bobby's
terrible.
defense, I will say this: the reason he asked me that question is because there seems to be some tie between me and the chief operating officer.
Yeah, it's like Lost.
and we don't know what it is.
It's like Lost. It's not as like, oh my God, Lost leaves you frustrated. You want to punch your TV at the end of Lost. It's not that crazy, but there is this. Who does he work for? Where are they from? Why are they connected? How does they know each other? Like the lady with the mechanical arm.
Yeah, that's Anita Sharp.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the one thing that messed me up with, she has a fake arm. Like, she's talking to this lady, and then she takes off her arm, and it's just this robotic arm, a sick robotic arm.
Right on.
And she puts a sleeve back on. But then in the next episode, I saw a couple liver spots on that arm, so I was like, oh, that's not the fake arm. So
No, that's
it's like they
it's
forgot to put that
technology,
plastic
man. They
thing
put
on.
liver spots and everything.
Okay.
The end of the pilot, it's so good because it's typical J.J. Abrams. They get you so well. Like one of the leads, it was a 2-hour, and it was the most expensive pilot ever done. It was $10 million. And at the end of it, one of the lead characters dies. So they're wheeling him in, and they're like, yeah, he's dead on arrival. And then she looks at the dead body. She goes, all right, well, brief him, and then let me know what he says. And then the episode ends.
You're like, what?
It's just like it's a really, really interesting concept, and you kind of don't know what's going on. But you're right; it's not as bizarre as Lost. It's a little easier to follow than Lost, which kind of made it more appealing, I think.
It's based more on reality too.
Yeah.
Most of the show, most of the science in it is based more on reality. Like last week with the pigeons, that was crazy.
Here he goes again. Yeah, give us a description.
No,
the pterodactyls.
No, I just set him up for that. I was like, the pigeons, go.
It's funny because you said that, and I immediately thought, oh, shoot, man, I don't remember. What happened?
What was that with the pigeons?
More importantly,
And I saw it.
did they give you a broad to bang on this this series, like The Wire?
No, that's an HBO thing.
It's kind of fun, man. You were rocking and rolling with what's her name there on The Wire?
Well, there was two. There was the wife, and then there was the
wife.
Well,
he got rid of the wife, though.
That made me
Oh
mad,
no,
man.
sorry.
I got to tell you.
sorry.
That was the one thing. That was the one thing about The Wire that made me mad, because my wife and I had one kiss, and it got cut. So we never.
Really?
Yeah. And so, ironically, I kept complaining, and I'm watching every episode and seeing McNulty getting it with a different woman. And I'm like, come on, man, I'm married, supposedly happy, and I never even kissed my wife. Well, he said, be careful what you wish for. Yeah, so third season, it was me and Perlman.
Hey, at least they didn't move you in with Omar. I mean, that could have been that would have been worse.
But Omar's cute.
He really is handsome, and it's not gay at all if you had a respect for the role. But the interesting thing about Daniels, it was like The Wire was so great the way they kind of teased this backstory with him and this dirt that they had on him and him and his wife, and he was going to have to leave the police force, and they really get into his character really, really well, man. It's a great show. I don't want to blow
No, I know. No, that's okay. I plan on it getting blown, but it's just so cool to watch. I don't care, if I know certain things or anything.
What was your favorite moment on that show? If you had to pick one, or one that really stood out for you, and Ant, you might want to cover up.
Wow,
for
that's a tough. That's a tough question.
I'll get out of the interview.
Like we asked,
There was so many great moments.
We asked
on that show.
Michael Whalen when he was in, and he said it was the one that got him the most was Bodie at the end of season 4, getting shot.
Wow. Well, I will say my favorite season was season 4.
The kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, there was so many great moments. But
Anthony keeps plugging his ears.
I think the moment that got to me the most was
Here it goes.
in season 5 when
Here it goes.
Michael. What was Michael's friend? The really smart kid who ended up being a drug addict.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember his name, but I know who you mean. The kid who was in trouble in school. He was trying to get drug money from the ex-cop who was the
teacher.
Yeah.
That was depressing.
In the last season when basically he says goodbye to Michael, and he walks off into the homeless land.
And he's kind of taking over Bubbles' place.
Yeah. Which happened. And that was another thing I thought was really cool about the ending of the series. How it just seemed like all these characters kind of stepped into. These characters that were coming up through the series as secondary characters stepped into the roles of all of the kind of primary characters.
Yep. Showing that nothing really changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, we got to get back to Fringe so Anthony can be part of the radio show.
Right.
James in Riverhead, what do you got for Lance Reddick?
What's up, boys? Mr. Reddick, pleasure.
Thank you.
You guys, Fringe rules, man. It's just a fantastic show. The scientist guy, he was from Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
He's an excellent actor. He'll say crazy